What keeps you playing a game that you've already completed? It's time to find out. It's very rare that you'll finish watching a film or reading a book and think, I know, I'll start that again right now. But games are a bit like milkshakes in that finishing one makes us want to rewind time and have the whole experience again. And in this video, we'll be looking at all the ways that games encourage us to step away from the uninstall button and dive back in. Even if our bucket lists are already full of essential titles we still need to complete. Sorry, Dante, I'll get back to you eventually.
I expected nothing less.
So what's the good news?
But before we start, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you never miss another video. But now, here are 5 ways that games keep you playing after the credits roll. It sounds simple, but the first way that our favourite games make us skip the credits in eagerness to get back to the action is with the simple side quest.
Thanks for saving my sorry ass.
Depending on the type of gamer you are, you'll either put on narrative blinkers and completely ignore the main campaign in the pursuit of a life of grind, or you'll reject every waving NPC you see in favour of just getting through the story as fast as possible. There's no right or wrong way to play, but the challenge for game developers is making those of us who've only done roughly half the side quests to want to return after the story has tied itself neatly in a bow. Sometimes going back is easy to explain. You might have thought you were finished saving the world, but surprise, surprise, the big bad might be gone, but you still have to fix everything else that you ignored on the way. Sometimes, though, it's slightly harder for the story to justify. Anyone who's reached the end of Far Cry 5 can attest to that. A perfect example of a game aiming to make you cross every villainous T and dot every cowl-wearing I is Batman Arkham Knight. Sure, you can finish the story without doing every side quest, but if you want to see the true ending of Rocksteady's trilogy, you have to 100% Gotham in order to engage the Nightfall Protocol. In theory, this sounds like a brilliant way to make sure that you've punched every available goon, and we'll come back to the power of percentages later on. In practice though, it all goes swimmingly until you have to complete all of the Riddler's underground driving challenges and end up stuck on the last one for eternity. Oh, and Batman is not alone in giving you a to-do list. Much more impossible sounding was Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain's mission to get everyone to disarm nuclear weapons in order to see one particular cutscene. It triggered accidentally in early 2018 before apparently legitimately rolling out across console platforms at Christmas time. Who knows whether the community actually succeeded or not, but hey, goals, right? Next up, we've got the deeply satisfying feeling you get when you complete a game and the world actually changes to reflect what you've done. And that's maybe because the opposite is so irritating. Few things make you feel as worthless as vanquishing some ancient evil and no one even noticing. Come on, NPCs, you're giving us protagonist imposter syndrome. For a great, if subtle example of this, we have to go back to Rocksteady's Batman. In this case, Arkham City. Once you've seen the incredible climax to the game, which I'm not going to spoil here, you have the option to go back into the urban sprawl and finish everything off. And if you choose to do so, you can listen in to the Joker's goons chatting about said ending. It's a brilliant, characterful touch, and one that gives them even more reason to be afraid of you, even if it's not a real one.
You fell for the old fake Joker gang, Batman!
Batter up!
And then we have the games that completely change on a second playthrough, which is distinct from New Game Plus, which I'll talk about later. I'll try and keep this spoiler-free, but skip ahead now if you don't want to know anything about Oxenfree or Doki Doki Literature Club. Still here? Good. Oxenfree is one of those games that we've talked about in numerous other vids, but to reiterate, if you haven't played it yet, it's absolutely worth your time. And if you've played and completed it, you might know that there's a specific reason to try again. A 2016 update added new dialogue, events, and endings if you play it twice, giving Alex different, déjà vu-tinged dialogue choices.
This is better than Truth or Dare because nobody ends up licking somebody's butthole.
Similarly, Doki Doki Literature Club doesn't really begin until you've played it through once. I'm not going to spoil it here, but there are few titles that toy with your initial perceptions quite like Doki Doki. everything is not as it seems. I've talked a lot in other videos about how most of us like lists. Farming lists, shopping lists, hit lists, you name it, we love making an orderly queue of things and ticking them off. Achievements then are listception, fourth wall breaking IRL stacks of things to do in games that won't actually give us any in-game benefits other than an endorphin rush when one pops up at the bottom right of your screen like your very own tiny cheerleader. Not everyone loves achievements, of course. For some, they're just one list too many, but for the rest of us, whether we're playing on console or PC, those added little thumbs up for doing the things in games that we would kind of do anyway are vitally important. And of course, they're a perfect reason to head back into an open world that by rights you should very much be finished with. It's a slippery slope too. Check your achievements at your peril, as you'll probably find out that you've only used the shotgun 87 out of 150 times and you've only got to kill 63 more mutants, so you may as well do it before bed. Or perhaps you're playing an Assassin's Creed game and there are only 97 more feathers and you end up drawing an actual map to check off as you go. Okay, maybe the subtext is rapidly becoming the text here, but you get the idea. Let's get a little deep for a second. Sometimes achievements are all you have left of a game. Once the map is empty, the campaign missions are a distant memory, and there's nothing left to do except wander, listen to the score, and randomly slaughter spawning enemies. It's nice just to gently slog through those final chivos. It's like saying goodbye on your own terms. Until that is, you return for our next entry. Yep, perhaps the most obvious way to keep people playing is New Game Plus. And it's a mode that sparks a strange reaction in many of us. You struggle through that final grueling boss fight, watch the credits roll, and end up back in the menu screen. Then, for some reason, you're compelled to go right back in and do the whole thing again. Perhaps it's because you usually get to keep all your stuff, which adds a new dimension to the early parts of a game. Or in something like Dark Souls, it might be because that initial fear of the unknown is replaced by the confidence of a gaming conqueror. It's also proof that the only thing necessary to make something sound cooler is a plus on the end, which is why I'm asking for a new lower third. Much better. The Yakuza games also excel at this, which is a good job considering how much stuff there is to do. You get extra gear from the sinister clowns, try not to think about it, and even new outfits to wear. Because why wouldn't you want to wander Tokyo's red light district, administering beatdowns while dressed as a pastel-coloured TV producer? And as well as New Game Plus, in which you get to keep all your money, items and abilities, you can also play Premium Adventure, a lavish way of describing Yakuza's post-completion free roam mode. In fact, I like it so much that I'm going to steal it. It's no longer the subscribe button, it's Premium Channel Friendship. And finally, we've got the dreaded percentage complete factor.
It's not that bad.
We look like a bunch of chumps.
You know what it's like. You've collected the collectibles, killed the final boss, and as I mentioned earlier, done as many side quests as your busy life will allow. You decide to check your stats. You've only completed 51% of the game. How? How does this happen? It's the gaming equivalent of ordering IKEA furniture and only getting half the parts. Unsatisfying on an elemental level. And the only way to fix it is to fire the game back up, write your obsessive to-do list, and head back into the breach for the sake of completionism. And it's usually well worth doing because it draws together much of what we've discussed. Some titles, such as the Yakuza games, are inherently less satisfying if you've missed out the side quests. Yes, you've completed the main story, but have you really had the full experience unless you've helped a stranger propose via the medium of a crossword? It was a rhetorical question. You haven't. Another way of dragging us back is with collectibles, and it helps if they're particularly clever or compelling. The Riddler trophies in Arkham City, for example, are a great reason to stick around in Gotham's underbelly, like justice and digestion. And better still, if you had the DLC that let you play as Catwoman, there were even specific trophies that only she could get. There's nothing quite so satisfying as finally being able to grab that sneering question mark that's been bothering you for hours. Especially when you realise that the only problem that the world's greatest detective can't circumvent is a question mark stuck to a metal ceiling. It's also a much smarter use of Catwoman than in Arkham Knight, in which she spent 10 pointless hours tied to a chair, which, sadly, I can sympathise with. And now that you've completed this video, here's some New Game Plus content of our very own. Watch my intro again at the slowest speed that YouTube allows and see if you can spot the Easter egg, or as I like to call it, a Logitech G Easter egg. And if you're still here after that pun, I'm not even sorry, please remember to hit that subscribe button and collect the notification bell for 100% premium channel friendship.